And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the World Championship Series North America Challenger Day 2. We just wrapped up our second series of the day, which saw a 3-2 victory for Xenocider, the American Terran, over the American Protoss player Puck. But now it's time to see who will win between the Canadians.
That's right. MaSa versus Astrea is our next series up right now. MaSa, I think, is considered the favorite going into here, but I don't think it's by that much, honestly. Astrea has been showcasing some really, really good skills lately.
I was on the Astrea train when he was playing in last season's Premier, when he managed to make it in. And Astrea was, you know, I think showed a lot of nerves, honestly, because it was like his first time really competing on that level, coming into play live. And he had a couple of very rough series against Chinese players. But I'm very excited to see how he handles this, because both of these guys actually been represented Root together at one point or another. MaSa playing from the Root Gaming House in Antioch, California. So he's been getting accustomed to America as well. And I think are we already in? We're already in the game. We're ready to rock and roll, boys.
All right. In the top middle position as the red Protoss, it is TA Pro's very own Astrea. It is important to note that they were former teammates, as you were talking about. And
Astrea was the first guy to actually get bumped up from the Root Academy to the main team.
Yeah.
His opponent in the bottom position, representing Root Gaming, he is MaSa.
And then he joined Team Ascension and bailed on the Root for Root guys. I don't know if there's any animosity between them. I don't know if there's any rivalry between them.
I don't know. Well, the thing is, you know, Astrea is a really good player.
Yeah.
But there's so many good players on Root that you're like, it's hard to stand out for a player like Astrea on a team like Root when they have Hydra, who finished second place. You've got Igas, who's been a consistent Premier appearance player. You've got, MaSa especially, and Supernova as well. So you've got a team of, like, a lot of really good players are on Root. So if Astrea wants to, like, be in an environment where you can be like in the lead or really stand out, you go into a team like Team Ascension, who, you know, they're not heavy hitters by any means, but they've got a couple of good players, especially from North America, and I'd say Astrea is one of, if not their best player.
It lets you be that point guard basically, and lead the team a little bit. It lets you get a lot of valuable experience, because obviously you get to you get to be in a lot of the show matches and represent their team in particular, if there's any team
I mean, like, for example, like Root plays in like the StarCraft clan wars and such, but Astrea is not a player that would get fielded as often when you have guys like Hydra that you can throw in there. So he's kind of been built, going his own way for a little while now. And MaSa ready to, I think, very importantly for him, try to get back into Premier, try to make it to the round of 16, because, MaSa, being Canadian, I can imagine he would probably be very interested in playing the offline finals in Toronto this season.
I would think so, man.
Just throwing that out there, especially since Scarlet was knocked out, Huck was knocked out. In fact, is he the Canadian hope? Well, Kane is still alive.
Kane's still alive.
So him and Kane have to represent Canada.
That's a tall task, man.
All of Canada.
It's
a big country.
That is a big country.
I think it'd be easier if both of these guys got in.
I mean, it's such a tough spot, I think, overall for both of these players. There's so much pressure because of, what it means to their teams, what it means to their countries. And honestly, like, MaSa, they kind of have different styles in terms of how they practice. MaSa's been really, really active, I would say, overall in recent tournaments and recent, shoutcrafts and things like that. Whereas Astrea, we haven't really seen much of him. He's been pretty inactive as of late. I don't know if that means he's like silently training.
I haven't seen a lot of games of him either.
Like I was looking back at his history, and he just hasn't been doing anything like small little show matches, $100 show matches, stuff like that. And a lot of times those show matches give us a little sneak peek at what they're capable of doing in Premier League. So Astrea, to me, is a big unknown. He could come out here firing on all cylinders. He could also be a little bit rusty based on the fact that he made it to, the finals basically of Challenger League. I think he's probably the former rather than the latter. But it's going to be interesting. Like, I don't know what to expect of this guy.
And already we're seeing two completely different styles of TVP from both sides compared to the last series where we had Blink opening every game versus mine opening. MaSa's playing straight bio. He's opened up 3 racks. He's just going to play very, very standard bio style. He's even getting the nice safety missile turret just in case something weird is going on that he wasn't able to see earlier in the game. And Astrea just going right up. He's getting his expansion. He's going for robo play with a sentry. So he's playing the more defensive style that he against bio. The force field, good against defending against any type of early bio push. Like if we were talking about something like a concussive shell attack, which some players still do these days, then he would be safe. He could just force field his ramp off. Of course, Sentry's not particularly effective against mine drops, but Astrea's got a reasonable idea of what to expect, it seems.
Yeah. I think overall, when you're playing at this level, you have a really good understanding of the range of your opponent and being able to never really be surprised for the most part. It really depends on how greedy you want to play, but generally, you're playing very, very safe, and unless you're going for an all-in, which neither of these guys really are, you're going to kind of defend against all possible builds that could exist right now.
It does seem like Astrea is a bit worried, or perhaps had something weird going on. He built an Immortal. Most of the time, you don't see those terribly early in Protoss versus Terran. In fact, he's building the second Immortal. Now, first you...
Is this like an all-in?
Yeah, I think this is very, very interesting because he scans. He's like, "What are you chronoing out after an Immortal?" It's like, "Are you making another Observer?" It's like, It's like first you had my curiosity, now he has my attention with this build because this is very unusual, and I think MaSa should be expecting a really big gateway push. Like if he catches on to this, that's like really the only thing that comes. There's a Warp Prism on the way too.
All right, very interesting. Normally, I've seen this Warp Prism being used here and there, but
maybe it's an Immortal drop into Colossus?
I don't think so. I think it's just like a push up into the front.
It's so weird.
It's just there to be able to warp in to defend against the Immortal a little bit better, but I don't think there's a lot of inherent value. I think a lot of times just pushing really a lot quicker is much, much better than waiting for this Warp Prism, but a lot of people like it just for that micro capability, that micro utility. And go from there.
He doesn't have a lot of firepower behind this. Even though Stim is done, he still has a couple of force fields he can work with. It's still very risky to be out on the map like this, but I guess the whole idea is to convince your opponent that you are doing this all-in, and there are bunkers here. So it's the fake Immortal push into what seems to be just standard, some standard PvT. He doesn't have anything going on that seems particularly crazy aside from the Warp Prism.
I would love him to just start hallucinating stuff too, and just really, really fake this. Because, like, why not?
Well, I'm really scared because if MaSa gets this unload and he's got it outside the base, like if he gets a chance to surround this army, there's not that many force fields.
Not a good spot. Here's the Stim. He's going to go in, and he does have a recall. We have to remember that.
Oh, yeah. Okay, the Mothership Core is there. Yeah,
wow.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
So killing all the sentries.
Picks off a good number of units. Yeah, the sentries are definitely going to be important for later on when the Colossus is on the field. Replacing those denies him a lot of other things that he would like. Where's the Warp Prism? Is it in the natural now? I think I see some red blips.
It's in the natural. So doing some counter pressure as well. This is actually doing pretty well overall. I mean, if you look at the harvest count, 49 to 39, killing 6 SEVs over here. So it definitely works out. He recalled back with the Immortals. He doesn't want to lose them at all. And he's just going to turtle up on 2 bases and make sure he has a composition. The problem with getting the Immortals and the Sentry, it's super early on. You don't have that much for everything else. So your Colossus are a little bit later. Your robotics stuff is a little bit later.
Early Immortals just delay everything, but I feel that he's actually gotten a pretty good return on the investment that he's made into this opening. And having this Warp Prism is just so annoying. Like, this is the part of the game where the Terran wants to deny the Protoss from taking that third base. And you know, when you think about it, like, this is the kind of thing that really punishes players who keep their armies out on the map. And it makes me even think about the kind of ways that Xenocider was playing. This is another way that you can try to punish a guy like that who doesn't build Vikings, especially early on in the game. But at this point, Army steps out. Those Immortals are a really nice anchor for the Colossus, too.
Yeah, I mean, they allow him to not push onto the Protoss nearly as well as you know what we saw Xenocider do, just because of the sheer burst damage is a lot heavier with those Immortals out. If any Marauders just drop down, they're going to be obliterated very quickly. But double drop, this kind of stuff is going to help out so much. Oh, inside turret
it's in the range of the turret. The Zealots will finish, but he loses the Warp Prism. Still annoying. The Zealots are actually still going to deal a little bit of damage here as it's like, oh wow, this whole position SCVs. The Zealots aren't doing anything. Never mind.
It's perfect, bro. Perfect.
That was actually that's pretty dirty.
He actually hold positions his own zealots, trying to
counter hold position micro. Now he's getting something out of it, but I feel like he definitely could have gotten a lot more if it weren't for that nice micro of MaSa. He actually only lost 3 SCVs. He got the War Prism and like 8 Zealots.
It's not bad, man. Definitely not bad. The Harvester tab actually is pretty close, 57 to 46 at this point. So it puts Protoss in a pretty even situation. I don't think either player has too big of an advantage, even though we've seen trades, both inefficient and efficient trades. It's starting to normalize as we move on to this, the heat of mid-game.
Yeah, it's not easy to call just yet. Astrea goes into another Warp Prism. He has a Dark Shrine on the way. And with that, I mean, DT drops are really annoying. Did he kill the missile turret with a Zealot drop, or is he just feeling that brave? Because there was missile turrets in both bases. Yeah, they're still there. So I don't think the DT drops are actually going to do too much. Maybe the DT could be used defensively. I don't mind Zealots in general, but there is a bunker in the natural, too, to help compensate.
Yeah.
Oh boy, here we go.
Doom drop.
Someone
Man,
was watching the last
scary.
series, or they just play Terran. They know all the dirty tricks.
Oh man, and he's so far out of position. Recalling back, is it going to be in time? Because he can actually do damage while these units are... Okay. Wow.
Oh, that Mind Planted, though.
Super.
Boom! Actually splattered a lot of the shields and actually did some real hit point damage to quite a few of those units.
He's going to bust out of here, not...
Is he going to sprint to the third? He's like, oh, I got to go back and make sure I can save against the drop. It's like, no, actually, now you just go to third base.
He killed the Robo, though. That's, like, super important very clearly. Because
Oh,
now
yeah, he can make no more Colossi.
Yeah, he doesn't have to worry about getting so many Vikings anymore. He could just relax.
Oh, he could go back into medevac. I mean, if you're a Terran player and you have an opportunity to build medevacs, you always take it. Medevacs are just so useful, not only for these drops, but people don't realize if you can get a good split in the big fights, having like 10, 12 medevacs like Xenocider had just makes your army close to unkillable.
Yeah, I mean, you need that AoE or gateway units are basically like useless. And when I say gateway units, I mean Zealots and Stalkers. They're basically useless if you don't. Now, just stimming up in, and the Vikings are enough. He doesn't have enough anti-air here. He doesn't have enough stuff. There's just way too much.
MaSa's like, yeah, I'm just going to kill you now. Thanks. Now the second one gets picked off. And with that, I think this army... Well, the defensive DTs are actually doing quite a bit of work.
Yeah, they are. He hasn't scanned yet. There it is, finally killing off these DTs. But the drop Vikings will stop the Stalkers from moving it forward.
It was a good effort. The Stalker Micro against the Vikings actually also pretty good. Like, Astrea had some really good moves at the end, but, I mean, he lost way too much. So
31 probes in that trade. Don't forget about that.
Yeah,
and,
that also complicates things a little bit, Greetor, losing 31 probes.
Shouldn't do it.
No, I would not recommend the 31 probe loss dish. That's not a good one.
It's not.
Unless you're the guy. Unless you're like the one serving it.
Then it's great. If you're the Terran, it's 31 probes.
That's
great.
Man.
That's great. I'll take that any day.
Yeah.
But really nicely played. It really started with the Doom drop. I think both the players were pretty close. With the Immortal heavy type of army, you naturally lose out on Stalkers because that's the one thing you have to get rid of.
And then we get to see this sick micro. Like stuff like this is cool, but it is so good. It's so good for MaSa because he really what it really did for him. Like not being slowed down. Like sure he still had the army even if he had lost more SCVs, but he's really putting Astrea into a position where he feels like he has to do something.
Yeah.
And it's like Dark Shrine, Second War Prism. These things are nice, but they're very expensive. Like that's the cost of close to another Colossus he could have chronoed out that he maybe had in time.
And he's just trying to buy time with that, and that time actually helps Terran a lot because if you looked, there was a second starport being popped down, so he's going to have the hard counter to Colossus.
Yep.
There is no transition into High Templars because you're already so spent in gas getting all the stuff just to defend your main and natural base. You can't think about getting up to Storm, so it's really a tough situation. It looked like if the Terran was overly aggressive, MaSa could have potentially been stopped.
Like if MaSa tried to make a big push, we think about think back to Xenocider versus Puck on this map. If he tries to make that big push into the third with everything concerted, Astrea's army at that point in the game was strong enough to just wreck him. Like he would have just annihilated him in a straight up fight with all of his units pre-positioned. But having to make this recall back, it's like, okay, your army was there to catch an attack, but then you pull back, and as you mentioned, on his way through, he was able to snipe the robotics facility and then eventually make his way over to the third, which really sealed the deal. Like, not being able to build another Colossus here really hurts him since he doesn't have the AoE that he needs to stop that next big push that he makes up the main base ramp, and so he gets a 1-0 lead.
Yep. Really nice way to start off the series, obviously. We're going to move on to our next map. Map number 2, we're all loaded in. Let's go ahead and introduce the players.
Now we're here on Coda. And our first player in the top left position representing Team Ascension, he is Astrea. currently down 0-1 in this best of 5. And his opponent in the bottom right, the blue Terran representing Root for Root, he is MaSa.
Again, another interesting map for Terran versus Protoss, where we were talking that Terran has a relatively nice job going on here.
I like this map. I think I think Puck going for the aggressive play on this map in the last series was really smart because of that, and I think that this is a map where you should try to be aggressive as Protoss against Terran if you can. You know, if it's in your playbook, I would pull it out. But if you're the kind of guy that likes to play slow, there's just a lot of drop space to be abused. Like, you have to be really good at stopping the drops.
Yeah. It's just a nightmare. That's why I think, you know, as Puck did, 2-base aggression is just the way to go. I mean, we were talking about it before so often, but we have to, as Protoss, put pressure on and just stop any of that aggression happening. And if you get to that 3-base versus 3-base situation, like, I don't know, you have to have something that's not the standard. Because if you do the standard, you're just going to be behind. So that's why, like, Phoenix openings, I think, are fine. Oracle openings are fine on this map, to kind of make it so that that airspace is dead to you, or dead to the Terran.
If you can shut down those plays, then you're essentially forcing the Terran to engage you directly in order to make anything happen. And that's where Protoss excels, when they can bunch everything up. And then, of course, you don't want to get into the position where Puck did on Inferno Pools, but, you know, assuming we don't see that map in this series, you shouldn't have to spread yourself out so much that that's really an issue. But it is something, of course, to keep into account. MaSa, look at this. He's like, yeah, maybe he's thinking the same thing as us. He's like, it's a good map for aggression because late game for Protoss bad. Let me check for proxies. Very smart. MaSa's not taking any chances in this series. He's the favorite player. He shouldn't.
Yeah, I think you know, MaSa, that comes with being like just one of the world-class players. Really, MaSa, like, always checking for those little tiny things that don't happen all too often, but just having that SCV skirt around just the side, it reduces your scout by like 2 seconds, but also wins you like, you know, 1% of your games. Just straight up wins you 1% of your games. Yeah. So it's just like a good little addition. Little minor things that we could never be able to show in a cast, but you know, a lot of these pro players have these tiny little adjustments that are able to get them ahead.
And MaSa's actually going to move into a factory, a pretty quick one. Still, him and both him and Xenocider in their matches have done these builds where they don't go for the crazy fast factory. They open up with the barracks, but they just don't go for like the insanely fast. It's like maybe delayed 30 seconds from the normal build. So he gets the Marine out first just to be safe and deny scouting, I suppose.
Yeah, very interesting. I mean, I'm sure you prefer getting your factory out as fast as possible.
Well,
right?
So the difference is, like, a probe scout against gas first is going to see 3 Marines tops. Here he sees 4, which says maybe you went 1 barracks expand, but you walk up this ramp, you see 3 depots. You know, if he didn't open with Reapers, you know it has to be a factory play. You know it's a mine drop coming. It's the only reason why if you're going to do 1 base mine drop, like, you know, I'm not someone that does it as much anymore, but if you're going to do it, I just like gas first because it's just fast.
Damn. Man, we were talking about this, I think, yesterday. Wouldn't it be so cool if they just went like 3 CCs and, you know, like completely fake out the Protoss, because it's like, oh, Protoss always thinks...
The only guy I've ever seen do that is like Bomber. Like Bomber has actually, he actually called it his build when I asked him about it. It was like, oh, I open really, really fast mine, and then as soon as they scout me, like I just stop mining gas. I don't build a starport. You just get a tech lab and start stim, and immediately just build 2 command centers.
Man, that's
like just fake him out.
So metagaming or mind gaming. Yeah. Like, it's really, really clever to do.
I mean, it's risky because if the Protoss like doesn't commit to defending the mine drop, then you can still be like in an awkward space because you are expanding later. But and you also have a lot less units. But look at this Stalker for Astrea immediately spotting this drop. Like, he can't deny it right now, but it's going to be much more difficult to dance around once he gets to Astrea's base because he could be so easily sniped.
I'm actually surprised he didn't go for that Stalker kill. A lot of times when you are found out like that, you just give up the drop.
Yeah, that's
and
a good
say,
point.
like, oh, I can drop anywhere still.
Yeah, I like the ramp drops a lot because on this map, neither Nexus can actually hit the ramp, like with the Photon Overcharge. You can't hit the ramp, so that means the Terran can just park him. Wow, that was a really bad friendly fire, actually.
That was very close. You might lose the medevac right here.
Yeah, I think the medevac should be the primary target, actually, of Astrea. Like, once the medevac's gone, the Marines are actually killable by the Stalkers. Like, that healing cannot be overstated how strong it is. But he's lost so many probes, and even losing the Stalker, too. This is really, really bad for Astrea. MaSa's taken a dominating position in this game. Like, to kill this many workers and pick off the Stalker, he's delayed quite a bit, because now he has to rush straight for this Observer. His gas mining was a bit delayed. He can't immediately start the Robo Bay. And I guess MaSa's expansion is still pretty late, so...
Yeah, considering everything, I mean, look at that income. 34 workers to 27. So even with that mule, if you calculate it, Astrea is actually ahead economically. Despite losing 10 probes, that's kind of crazy. You could really see
the thing, it's just weird, because like, it looks strange, but for me as a Terran, like if I get that much damage done with that type of play, I'm quite satisfied.
Yeah,
like
that's
something that you can be really happy with, because you really messed up the Protoss situating, because they have to spend so much money rebuilding those probes that it does end up delaying their tech one way or another. And I will proffer that it has, because there's still no Robo Bay. He went for more Stalkers afterwards. He, of course, still has Blink in production, but he's also going for the Observers because he wants to know what's coming next. Some Terrans will get a second medevac and go for follow-up drops, and still very, very interesting way that this game has started.
Yeah. I'm really unsure of how we're going to see the Protoss actually play from here. As we were talking about, I mean, just not having that Robo Bay really cuts your ability to take the third base super fast, right? That's what we really look to the Colossus for. How fast can we take our third base? And a lot of people these days have actually just been taking the third base faster, anticipated the Colossus to be there. So when we see the third base not actually popping up anytime soon, we're talking like 12, 13 minute Colossus timing here. And when that happens, you can, or excuse me, 12, 13 minute third base. When that happens, you can SCV pull very, very easily against the Protoss a lot of the times.
Yeah, that's a situation where the Protoss generally doesn't have enough to stop this, but he's going to go full puck here, man, just looking right on top of this bunker. There are quite a few Marauders with the medevac support this time, though, or at least this time, at least in this game. So MaSa is not quite so vulnerable. Good target fire, though.
Yep. Kills a couple of units, backs off. And most importantly, killing that bunker establishes a threat for Protoss. So now Protoss is constantly saying, hey, do you have units in there? Are you dropping? Because if you're dropping, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to do just like damage that will not be able to be dealt with.
Stim not being done really complicates this. He's 5 seconds away. SCVs are being pulled. I still think that this is very holdable, especially now that he has Stim. But having to pull those SCVs, even for a short time, very, very annoying for MaSa.
Yeah, you lose like 100 minerals every time you pull that, and then obviously it gets worse and worse every single time you wait. So this is a tough situation for the Terran. Like, you really have to ask yourself how you're going to push out, and a lot of people, what they do is just like push out with a medevac drop very, very closely and try to go for the surround and just straight up push out as fast as humanly possible. Obviously that doesn't help the Protoss in containing the Terran, but you need to have some sort of push that just like assert yourself onto the map where the Stalkers need to just back away. Like right here, you should be like pushing up ahead and then yes, forcing the Stalkers to go left. That way they can't blink up into your main base.
Yeah, he's pushed them in a direction that he can't do anything with, and killing the Observer also shut that option down earlier in this game, and now he finds this pylon. He's like, okay, kill the pylon, kill the probe. By the way, still no third base on the way for Astrea, so this SCV knows, the SCV has it on lockdown, Greetorp.
Sorry, man.
It's right. It's written. It's written on the third. Sorry.
Lockdown, airlock.
Colossus range has actually only just started too, so this army could actually just run up and kill him. Marauders have the same range as Colossus before that upgrade completes, which really complicates things for Protoss.
Yeah, Protoss is just not in a good position. I mean, there's so much of his range that's been limited. It can't be like a 3-base all-in. It can't be like...
Well, this also works.
Oh, wow. And the units are just heavily out of position. We might just see a Nexus kill right here. There's so much.
I think he can do close to anything because Colossus range is done. Like if Colossus shows up, he's already in range of the army. He could just kill the Colossus too. The Stalkers are going to show up, but he's just okay. I'm just going to blink away. Oh, okay, that's a bad direction to blink in. He loses a empty medevac, thankfully for him.
The only medevac that was empty. So unfortunate for Astrea there. And it looks like MaSa is just going to maintain a gigantic advantage. He hasn't taken his third base yet. I don't think he has a command center in production just yet either. But I mean, this constant production is just so powerful.
Yeah, I don't know if he needs to. Like he's got enough.
It's 2 base versus 1 base.
Yeah, if you're punishing a Protoss at this point, it's okay to just lock both of yourselves down on 2 bases for a long time because you're the one that can pull your command center away and stepping forward onto the map without thermal lands. He moved out with the Colossus range. That's why the Colossi died so quickly. Oh my goodness. I think he might just kill him right here.
It's a bold move, Cotton.
Yeah. Well, it didn't pay off very well that time. GG's called. MaSa goes up 2-0 against Astrea. And what was, honestly, like, you got to hold on. Like, it was tough to have the base sniped, but you have to chill and try to slow the game down from that point. Like, even though you're already kind of buried, you need to still slow it down. Stepping out onto the map without Colossus range, especially. Like, I didn't think he'd win that fight with it, but without it, you don't even have a chance.
He realized he had to push out there because he's like peaked right there. Like if he tries to go macro and get a Nexus back up, he's I'm dead.
He's close to irrecoverably behind. Like
exactly.
MaSa established a massive advantage earlier on in that game. Just I think delaying the Robotech long enough, and then the Blink Stalkers that were bled out as he tried to punish MaSa. Like MaSa's like, okay, I'll throw away a couple SCVs. Not that big of a deal. I have mules, and with 2 command centers, I can replace 5 SCVs pretty quickly. But that was just well played by MaSa, and this tough series for Astrea.
I think so. I mean, already MaSa is showcasing that he's up 2-0. We've seen Astrea in the past like falter to, the premier players. He's shown that he's top in NA. It's just he hasn't been able to crush those European players, the top European players, the top NA players, and also like any of the Koreans. Whereas MaSa has showcased like he's capable of killing Koreans. He's capable of being all the way up there in the top. This is, in my opinion, MaSa's chance to maintain his dominance and for Astrea's chance to really break out of the scene and establish himself as one of the leading NA players.
Yeah, because MaSa's been playing at a high level for a long time, but he hasn't had the big. We just don't see him at like the big tournaments.
Yeah.
We haven't really seen him at the big tournaments playing offline, like making big plays, and that's. I think he played in he played in like the open bracket for Intel Extreme Masters Toronto, but didn't get terribly far. And like this is a big opportunity for him to actually get on camera for once. Like get onto a stage so people can actually see the guy that everyone keeps talking about every time we have tournaments like this, where it's like, MaSa's really good, and everyone's like, where is he?
That's true.
Well, he barely almost qualified for this. He made it to the final round and then didn't qualify. MaSa's made it into Premier League before, and then just lost in round 32 before it made it to offline stage, at least in last year's format. So.
Yeah. If you look at the guys he's losing to, generally, I mean, I have it written down as Stardust, Huck, Rain, and Arthur.
Yeah, it's not like he's no chump.
Yeah, those are his most recent losses, but like Astrea, I would say, has been losing to a much wider array of people, but at the same time, as I said, we haven't seen much of him. So we're able to pinpoint where MaSa is a lot better than we are Astrea, and when they're matching up here, it just looks like MaSa maintains that, that, I guess, assumption that we took where he's a better player so far.
Yeah. MaSa is definitely, I think without a doubt, anyone looking into this, a heavily favored player. I really wouldn't be surprised, like with the, I will say if there's one weakness of Root, especially for team practice, is there's not really a strong Protoss presence over there. Like I know that Cats works with guys like Parting in them, but I don't know who MaSa practices with. If he needed a Zerg, well then you've got Hydra, you've got Cats, but if you need Terran practice, you've got Aigas and Kelazar. But you don't really have a lot of Protoss to play.
It used to be like TT1 and
the old days.
Kiwikaki, but it's no longer 2011.
Maybe Caliber, but I don't even know if he's like practicing that much lately.
No, I don't think so. I think he's doing Here's the Dorm, I think.
And Caliber's all over the place, really.
He is, man.
I've like run into him like on 2v2 ladder. I'm like, what are you doing here? I'm like, shouldn't you be wrecking Scrope? He's like, no.
I'm good, man. I'm good here.
So we're loaded into Cactus Valley for the third game of this series, of this best of 5. In the top left position, he needs to win 3 games in a row to make his premier hopes come back to life. He's Astrea.
And in the southeast position of this map, the Blue Terran, the guy that's up 2-0, the dominant Canadian as he is, it's MaSa.
Oh, I was hoping that SCV would go to the gas. There's a really cool build. I'm the guy that likes gas first. Okay?
I know, okay? I tuned into your Legacy of the Void stream and you're like, guys, I got the best.
Well, in Legacy of the Void, gas first is the best way to open in every matchup.
Like, immediately,
you have so much money.
You're like, I have the best build in Legacy of the Void. I've already prepared for this. Boom, gas first. I was like, Nate, I think I'm in love, bro. I think I finally found my caster that I'm in love with.
You like gas timings, I like gas first. It was meant to be, Greetorp. It was meant to be.
Together, we're the Gas Archon.
Yeah, so I don't think gas first aggressive builds are good on this map, but like I don't want to go too deep into the theory crafting. But I saw a cool build from MMA where he like used gas first to get like a fast Hellion scout with like 2 Hellions, and then actually switched into a faster stim than most Reaper openings would actually end up giving you.
Really?
Yeah, like he just as soon as he built the reactor with his barracks, he just went right to a tech lab and got stim. And the Hellion scouted because it was a big map, but that's totally not what's happening in this game. It's a command center first into wait. Into barracks, into gas.
Into gas first, baby.
It's a barrack.
CC
barracks gas.
Man, we're seeing this a lot more often.
This got to be like an American thing. I don't know if Xenocider and MaSa practice together.
Yeah, right.
But this, did I miss maybe a Korean doing this recently? Because I don't think I've seen any Koreans do this anytime recently.
I've seen HTO Mario do this, but he's a meching player. So
like some people have crazy. Maybe Byung did it once for a mech build, but like most people don't do this because it's so flimsy. But I guess Astrea, like he's gone for fast expand off 1 gas. He doesn't have a Zealot or a Stalker, so the Mothership Core alone can't really punish this.
If we're talking about greedy builds, though, this is probably the greediest of greedy builds, though.
Yeah.
Like, this is the build.
The greediest gas build for sure. Like, you could have gone... Like, I think going 2 barracks after Command Center first into a 3rd CC is actually less greedy than this. Because this one... Because, like, it used to have a lot of Marines with that build, but this one, you just don't have a lot of anything.
You die to... Like, if there's a proxy Stargate, you're dead.
Oh, yeah, you insta-lose to proxy Stargate with this. It's not possible to have enough Marines. Your factory won't be out in time. The Oracle would be arriving within the next 30 seconds, and then Terran's dead because he only got 2 Marines. Like, it's that risky. That's why I'm expressing such shock at seeing this opening twice in one day. I never thought it would happen.
That's why these Protoss need to start cheesing more, man. They're getting too predictable.
These Protoss have stopped cheesing. They're like, oh, the Terran's so good at stopping cheese, it's not worth it. It's like, well, you know how the meta rotates, right?
Yeah.
When Innovation was going 3 Command Center, 2 eBay every single game, people realized, like, you know what? I think he might be vulnerable to some roaches. Like, no, you think? I thought Terrans are good at that. It's like, do you really think this build can actually defend against that? But he is going to go for a delayed Stargate.
Okay. It helps out, but...
Like, if he goes Phoenix, then it's great against the Mine Drop that's going to come. Oracle can still be acceptable.
Wow,
but...
look at how fast.
Okay, there's a starport. I thought my eyes were messing with me for a second.
Look at how fast those double barracks are, though.
Yeah, his follow-up is crazy fast.
Unreal, man.
Much faster than we saw it as Xenocide or anyone else. To get that, he did not build the engineering bay. So no +1. That's where the money comes from to actually afford this. So that's Xenocider already had +1 halfway done, I think, at this point when he was doing this type of style because he did open eBay. So he trades upgrades to have his production up faster, which could help him since I guess it depends in a weird way where his Marines are positioned because the Oracle can still do a lot of damage.
I mean, you can never count out Oracles, obviously, especially when they come in this mid-game, because it's kind of like awkward. Terran never really expects it, so you a lot of times have more value with this than, honestly, like some proxy Oracles if you're not scouting at all. So it definitely has the capabilities of doing a lot. I mean, you're never really preparing your mines to be defensive by any means, and with only 4 Marines out in the field, like, you literally have nothing. And he sees this drop. He's probably so happy. He's like, oh my god, my Oracle's going to do so much damage.
I'm surprised he's building a second Oracle. Like, with the Robo finishing up, I think a Phoenix would have sufficed. Oh, the hidden mine. Rip.
How was I supposed to know? I didn't.
We're just a caster Greetor. We don't know anything.
We don't know
it's okay.
anything, bro.
That mine was very well hidden.
Obviously, there's a lot of really good positions on top of buildings, like refineries, like supply depots, like command centers, where you can hide a mine.
You can hide them under a Nexus, too. That's my favorite, when the Protoss doesn't realize that you had a second mine.
So dirty, man.
I'm a terrible person. It's okay. I accept that.
But,
Ooh, he got the Stalker with that mine, too. It's actually really good. Much better than just one probe.
Yeah.
You know, the best is when the Observer is too close, and then the splash kills the Observer. Oh, man, that's when the Protoss rage quits.
It's finger looking good, man.
That's when the Protoss just rage quits. His keyboard in worse condition than QXE's.
Phoenix will cross the map right now, and he's going to try to scout out and see what his opponent is capable of, but at this point, I'm kind of super scared of anything that Terran does right now, because you just know, after being mine dropped and then losing the Oracle, like, he won't be able to do type of pressure build for a very long time. He just needs to receive the attack as well as possible. So I think, yeah, he just brings back the Phoenixes, makes sure he's scouting, make sure he's zoning out any medevac drops from doing major, major damage. He still needs those Colossus out, man. He still needs those out ASAP.
Yep, MaSa's just going to take a third base. He's like, okay, my stim's a little bit later. No big deal. I have a lot of Marauders. That's one thing MaSa's really good at, is churning out those Marauders. You brought it up in Xenocider's matches that he plays very Marine heavy. We can see a stark contrast to that in the way that MaSa has set himself up. And I don't really think that Astrea is in a very powerful position, because despite the fact that he's going for this Colossus, you have very few gateway units. And it's very difficult to kill an army like this with just Stalkers, or just Phoenix.
Yeah. Oh man, it's just looking so bad right now. Third base is going to be.
He's like, you want to take a third? Okay, I think denying that should be really easy.
Yeah.
He already canceled it. He's like, nope, that's not happening.
And the opportunity cost for getting and saving up for that third is going to be units. It's going to be production facilities also. So you're going to see it's only 4 gates. Is that it? 4 gates right now. Not a great position for this Protoss. He's going to photon overcharge it, because if he doesn't, he's dead.
What's really nice is his mine. Like, having the mine here, if he brings a Phoenix to try to come swamp him, then maybe he causes some self-splash, but the splash for the shields is so much higher on the Protoss player. Bringing the Observer over, very, very smart. Because if that mine hit the Phoenix, then I think that even though small number of Marines, like, they could probably finish off quite a few of those Phoenix.
I think so. Trying to place the third yet again. Not going to be possible with that Marine there, just being annoying. And MaSa knows he's ahead. He's like, wow, I have my third up. It's going. It's roaring. I can actually mine from it. And you don't even have it started. So I have 100 seconds, more than 100 seconds of a head start on you. I'm just going to mass up. If I'm MaSa, I'm just going to mass up and pretty much overwhelm you. Oh,
yeah, these Phoenix run straight into the army. Loses one. Doesn't get anything for it. Just some damage on the medevac. And this third base still very vulnerable. Even though there's a Colossus on the map, Greep Torp, there's no Colossus range.
Oh my god.
The bane of Astrea's existence. This third base should be very easily denied.
Yeah, not a good position. Thermal Lance is like 25% done, so it's not even like anywhere near close.
Oh, hits the Phoenix too. Splashes on the others.
And
it's like, yeah, let's restart that third base. Moss is like, okay, wait for my next wave. Just get some more barracks, get some depots, make sure that we're safe against any type of counter harass.
MaSa's not looking to do any like full frontal engagements. He still wants to start materializing off of that third base, because he realizes his peak spike, where he has an advantage over his opponent, is when he starts to materialize off of, you know, that third base. So he's just going to wait it out, and I'm sure in like 14 minutes, 15 minutes, he's actually going to push out and just do a game-ending push. I wouldn't be surprised if he just SEV pulls, because I don't see any way, with Protoss being so far behind, for him to stop that. With the Phoenixes out, he just doesn't have enough on the ground.
Yeah, Moss is just in a phenomenal position.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know if he he might be in such a good spot that he might not need to pull the SCVs, but that's like the icing on the cake. Like, that's the real like finishing blow to make sure there's no way he could possibly defend it.
Yep.
Thermal Lance is finishing though, which is very nice. Somehow these two Widow Mines are still alive over here. The third base is just about to finish, but 14 minutes. This is as late as you want a third. Like, you cannot afford a third base later than this. He needs to defend this right here, right now.
Really tough spot. Nice little Widow Mine shot. Takes out a lot of the shields. Phoenixes will come in to stop the units from actually aggressing forward. It looks like the Colossus are enough.
Yeah, the Zealots are dead, but the 3 Colossi were allowed to get enough damage in. This Bio army is very heavily wounded. Like, there's another wave of units that's ready, but he's gotten his third base, which is really all he needs, because he's got +2 attack, he's got charge, and I think, does he have +2 armor, or is he just playing attack upgrades? Oh, he's only playing attack upgrades because he's going Phoenix Colossus.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
He's just trying to have the battles end as fast as possible, rather than trying to prolong it out and, you know, obviously play that more conservative style.
Yeah, it's very interesting because we don't see that terribly often. There's this big load up of units. He's like, well, your army's so small, MaSa. MaSa's like, yes, this is a very small army.
That's what I want you to think.
Get inside your head. And now he's going to see that army again. He's going to be like, wait, where'd all the medevacs go? It's like, no, there's something back to be repaired. It's okay. It's like, well, I highly doubt that that's the case, sir. These Phoenix take a lot of damage. You know, the Phoenix part of this Phoenix Colossus is mostly removed from the game.
Yeah.
And this actually bothers me quite a bit, because the +2 attack and no upgrades on the Zealots, this army will die so fast.
Phoenix to the rescue. I don't think
they can't stop this.
Oh, this
Yeah,
is,
any zealots that could be like this zealots, like yeah, they got charged, they've got upgrades, but they don't have the armor upgrades. Like the Marines can actually kill them very quickly, and now he's pushing the third base at the same time. Oh god, don't pull the probes, he's got Voodoo Mines!
no, he backed up. Say it ain't so.
Oh well, that's Terran Dream right there. And he just steps up, he's gonna focus fire down this Colossus, and MaSa going up 50 supply now. He has managed to clear all the economy, even though the third base, like, yes, that Nexus is alive. Very nice. You have a Nexus. You have no probes, though.
29 probes dying is not the... What did we talk about? 31 probes isn't good. 29 isn't either, Nate.
You know, Astrea might as well be maxed out on carriers and no interceptors. Okay,
That's right.
that's how good having 3 bases and no probes is, Greetor.
Wow. And those mines. How many kills do those bottom 2 mines have? It's like ridiculous how well those are doing.
Yeah, they've got a lot, to say the least. They're doing well. They're doing well. So, the mines gets another shut off on these stalkers.
They've been heroes, man.
Oh boy, and like 2 of these Colossi are still very injured. Like, yeah, the Colossi are alive, but there's not enough to soak up for them. Like, there's the mules being dropped. Get out, scrub, GG, baby. And I mean, he's barely gonna do it, and he does.
There it is, GG.
Victory for Root MaSa, clean sweep 3-0, and he will advance on into Premier League, which means we will see him at an offline event on camera. One of the first times ever.
Is it going to happen?
It's actually going to happen.
Is it going to happen? We're going to find out. It's like getting Major to go to a LAN event.
But the thing is, we already got MaSa out of Canada. Like he's in California now, which means that since
you're right.
Like,
you said that before.
So like if Hydra is also like I guess we don't know where the groups are, like, because the groups are being drawn after Europe Challenger finishes, so we don't know 100% whether he'll be playing in America or in Cologne. But we've already gotten him out of there, so I'm sure just put him in Hydra's group. Hydra will just drag him with him onto the plane.
We'll get him.
Yeah.
We'll get him there.
We'll get him there.
Really exciting play though, coming out from MaSa. I mean, he really showcased how well his TVP is. He knew exactly when to be aggressive. He had great drops, great combinations, able to take out Nexi really quickly, and then just back up and punishing a lot of the intricacies of Astrea's builds. I mean, we saw not necessarily mistakes from Astrea, more so like just inefficiencies in the overall build, and he was able to identify the weaknesses very quickly and just pick them apart.
Yeah, well-deserved 3-0 over Astrea. He joined Xenocider and Violet in today's matches, moving on to Premier League. We have one more best of 5 to bring you guys tonight, and that will be the last match of the North American Challenger. It's going to be Suppy versus Jaedong. Suppy, who just got his college tuition paid for, winning Heroes of the Dorm with UC Berkeley, and Jaedong, who actually just moved to America.
That's right. I mean, 2 really potent EG players. Unfortunately, it will be an EG team kill, but either the guys that actually go through...
Well, you know, Xeno got out, so EG can't be too sad today. Let us know what you guys think, who you want to win. Will Suppy's foray into other games slow him down in this best of 5? Let us know. Tweet at StarCraft with the hashtag WCS, Suppy versus Jaedong. We'll see you guys at that match right after this break.
I move objects with my mind. I climb the tallest mountains and slay dragons. I defend my galaxy from ruthless aliens. I am never bored. I am stronger. I am faster. I am G1. I move objects with my mind. I climb the tallest mountains and slay dragons. I defend my galaxy from ruthless aliens. I am never bored. I am stronger. I am faster. I am G1.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the World Championship Series North American Challenger Matches, Day 2. I'm Nathaniel. With me is Greetorp. We have one more best of 5, Andre.
Can't believe it already is coming to this, man. One more best of 5. It literally, the matches have gone by so fast, but I know it's taken quite a bit of time.
Yeah.
Especially match 2.
We had a couple of quick series.
Yep.
I think it goes without saying. I thought that the first series was going to be a 3-2. I was expecting a longer match between QXC and Violet.
Me too.
I was like in my heart, I knew like Puck versus Dennicide was going to be a brawler. It was a very good series that lived up to I feel like the hype that we gave it, the expectations on the forums. Astrea versus MaSa. MaSa just kind of showing he's on another level right now. He's really looking now that he's finally stepped out of Canada, basically. To kick some serious behind in WCS.
That's right. But now it's 2 players that you would not expect to be here facing off against each other so fast. Suppy and Jaedong. Suppy and Jaedong both from Evil Geniuses. Everybody would consider Jaedong the gigantic favorite, and I think that's
pretty fair.
Yeah, but Suppy just beat Jaedong 2-0 in the Kung Fu Cup 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. That's pretty recent.
I'd still proffer that I think the change in the delay has a little bit of an influence. Jaedong's been going on a tear on NA ladder recently.
That's true.
I had the displeasure of getting wrecked by Jaedong on ladder. I was like, my eyes lit up when I saw his name on the loading screen, and then I just got like destroyed, annihilated. I'm like, well, it was still a memory.
What can you do, man?
It's still a memory to get wrecked by the Dong himself, but. We are actually loaded into game number 1. We're ready to kick off this best of 5, guys. The last series of the night, last series of a challenger in North America. In the top left position of Echo, we have the red Zerg player representing Evil Geniuses. He is Suppy.
And in the bottom right-hand position as the blue Zerg, the genius that is Jaedong.
Now, how good? How can you have a better week if you're Suppy and you win this best of 5?
Oh my god.
You're like,
I don't even... Jaedong, for those of you that have been not following nearly as much, but Jaedong is legendary for his Zerg ever since the StarCraft Brood War days. He had like a 90% win rate in ZVZ back then. He's continued that into ZVZ for StarCraft 2. If you're able to crush him 2 series in a row, wow, that says a lot.
It's pretty hardcore.
Yeah. That says a lot. And ZVZ, it's not the rock, paper, scissors matchup that people think it used to be back in like the beginning of Wings of Liberty. It really has progressed to be, a lot of times the better ZVZer will win.
Yeah, I feel like ZVZ gets a bad rep for the people that like don't like the Ling Bane, but really it's such a precise amount of micro that it really does allow whoever controls better to come out on top. And eventually in the mid game, it's almost always just mechanics. Like who can get more roaches out? Like who gets more roaches out? Who manages to get more roaches out while getting upgrades or burrow or some other variety of tech such as hydralisks or infestors. There's a lot of different ways that ZVZ can play out. For the most part, we usually see some form of speed opening into roaches on 2 or 3 bases, and then it just kind of goes from there. Usually just roaches, though.
It's occasionally mutas, but...
Suppy is actually a muta player. Suppy is the kind of guy, if one of these players were to go muta, or at least open fast muta, I would give that to Suppy. Him and Scarlet were like the kind of players that really like that style, and they both, as far as I'm aware, still use it pretty regularly.
There are some capabilities to do that. Overall, if there's a lot of trades in the beginning, if someone's overcommitting to an attack or a defense, you can slip in the mutas, but generally, I mean, if they're both going standard, the roaching player, I know it sounds weird to say roaches counter mutas, but the roaching player is able to pressure, get a third base, and also like maintain a good attack. Like keep your mutas at bay until you're pushing across the map with like 9 mutas and there's spore crawlers up, and spore crawlers do a lot of damage against those mutas.
Yeah, the only thing I guess that makes me feel that maybe we don't see mutas on this map is just because the rush distance is so small.
That's true.
If you were to go with a roach push, it's highly unlikely you could have Mutalisks out in time to stop it, and then usually in those cases, the Muta player kind of loses everything trying to get to Mutalisks, and by the time the Muta player kills all the roaches, the roach player has Spore Crawlers, which as we all know are basically like Brood War ion cannons against the Mutalisks when they're in the air. But these Ling's gonna go, basically Jaedong's just trying to get his scout. He wants to run by and see what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be the normal, like, Zergling, Baneling. You get your Baneling nest super early in the early game stage. You start to get your lair and also tech up to your Roach's evolution chambers as the mid-game progresses on. These scouting Zerglings are to check for any shenanigans that can happen. Let's say there's an evolution chamber super fast in the early game stage. We're going to be able to check that. We know it's like a +1 melee or carapace or missile attack. We just know that it's going to be some sort of early pressure. So that's why you do that. Wow, a lot of Zerglings coming out right now from Jaedong.
Yep, he's getting ready to put a little bit of pressure on as his speed completes. Usually in these scenarios, what you're trying to do is deny a fast third base from your opponent. He could go for a very aggressive setup, but with the Roachborn that he has finishing up behind this, I'm not convinced that it's like an all-in play. Like, he'd have to wait for roaches to leave and then start a Baneling nest if he wanted to really go all-in. And Suppy already has Banelings of his own.
But Suppy, I mean, Jaedong really sold it. Canceling the lair actually hurts you quite a bit. And when you have that canceled lair, you're saying to yourself, I have to defend against some sort of all-in aggression. I think that I'm going to be in a really bad situation, but it's not the case at all. You know, I mean, I guess it doesn't happen nearly as badly, or it doesn't affect them nearly as badly because, you know, it's only like 25 gas that you lose, or actually like 33 gas that you lose, but still it does affect timings, it does affect your psyche, and of course, Jaedong's winning the mind games.
I can always trust you to give me those timings on the gas Greetorp. It's very important.
Hey.
He tries to slip a few Lings to scout himself, but can't make it.
33 gas is a lot, man. That's like...
It's a whole Baneling in ZVZ. I've seen enough.
Right.
I've seen enough ZVZs where a Baneling has won or lost a game to know that is significant.
That's right, man. And it's a good, like, 10 seconds off of 2 gas. That's not nothing. 10 seconds. There's a lot that can happen in 10 seconds.
That's a lot that can
ZVZ.
happen in 10 seconds. Yeah, I agree. In ZVZ.
All right, Roach is moving across the map.
So
And
this
look
is where
at
you,
this.
This
Oh
is where
my
you
God.
try to use those spines to defend.
This is also where you need Overlord coverage a lot better because he's seeing these Roaches way too late.
Yeah, if he had seen them as soon as they left the base, then it's good. Maybe the Queen pushed the Overlords away or something we missed, but Suppy's like, Well, if you guys didn't know, Spine Crawlers take 50 seconds to build. He does not have 50 seconds to build all these spines. The first 2 should finish, but they don't have a lot of support behind them.
No, you talked about it best. The rush distances are just so close. These Roaches will get in here and do pretty much game-ending damage. I mean, defending with drones isn't the good position that you want to be in. Just like in PvT, it's not good to lose 31 probes. DVZ, not good to lose any drones.
You know, it's like by pulling the drones, he buys time for the spines to finish, but then we ask ourselves the question, you know, at what cost Greetorp? He lost all the drones that he pulled to defend. GG.
GG.
Jaedong takes a 1-0 lead in this best of 5. And, I mean, really, Suppy tried to play more for the tech route, and Jaedong was just like,
Yep.
Yeah, I'm just going to kill you with a lot of roaches.
And that's what we're talking about. Like, Roach pushes are so scary on that map. Of course, Jaedong did do something very greedy. He didn't go for the Baneling nest. Instead, he went for the Roach Horn immediately.
Yeah.
So if there's any Zergling Baneling pressure from Suppy...
Yeah, if Suppy tried to get aggressive, then Jaedong has a way of just buffeting that right back.
Yeah, I mean, it can get scary, right? There's like a 30-second timing that you can as Zerg, but that's what you kind of get for... You need to scout out your opponent a lot faster. You need to get those 2 Zerglings into your opponent's base a lot faster, and that's why we normally see those 2 Zergling scouts, as I was talking about before in the beginning.
Yeah, I think it really comes down to being aware of what's going on, and then it's just tricky because you're trying to go for this build where you're like, yeah, I want to get a fast lair because Suppy's like the kind of guy you open Lings and then Mutas, and it's like, okay, just a couple Banelings to defend. But the Roaching player, I can see that working so much better on Vonnie Research Station, for example. Because you have a very long rush distance, and then you have a very small choke point that's easier to close off with the spines, and you can generally buy yourself a bit more time. It's a bit harder to harass. Echo just has such a small rush distance, and I don't actually know what the next map is, but yeah, I guess we'll have to see. It looks like from what I've seen, if Suppy picked the first map and it was Echo, then I think the next map is Expedition Lost, which is another reasonably, I guess it's It doesn't feel as short, but it's reasonably similar rush distance.
I mean, again, we're going to talk about roaches being a lot better than mutas on this map in particular.
Yeah,
because
the back
of,
rocks too.
Exactly. Like, if I'm able to put pressure on your main base from 2 different locations, there's no way you can stop my counterattacks. There's no way you can stop like just the mass pressure that can exist with that. So
that's you have those openings that in the later stages are just going to make harass so easy. And I've seen countless games, like especially once you get to the mid-late stage where you get things like burrow and burrow move for roaches. Then stopping that harass is borderline impossible. It comes down to like who's throwing more roaches at each other at each time and taking less damage, not like stopping it, because you almost can't stop it.
Yeah, that's true, man. I mean, it gets very complicated. Like ZVZ, it's so micro intensive, so there's so much to talk about the micro as well.
Yeah.
With the Zergling Baneling wars that can exist, or even, like Zergling Roach, Zergling Baneling Roach, different permutations of all the tier 1s of Zerg. But also, like, as we get into mid game, as we get into end game, like the different ways that you can transition, because it used to be just, Mass Roach against Mass Roach, and then it's like, oh no, you just add some Hydras, so it's Mass Roach Hydra against a Roach Hydra. But now it's like the mid game has kind of developed. It's like you can do speed banelings, you could do baneling drops, you can do Hydras, you can do infestors still. Infestors work rather well.
It's weird because it's like once you get to that Roach stage, that's where the supplementary forces like kind of counter each other.
Yeah.
Like Roaches are just kind of good, period. But if you play Roach Hydra beats straight up Roach. If you play the Roach Speedbane, then you can beat Roach Hydra.
Yeah.
Unless the Hydra player is like godlike splits. And then if you play Roach Infestor, you beat the Baneling play.
And you beat Roach Hydra after you get like 2 fungals per each infestor.
Yeah.
But it's like you have to wait 75 energy.
Yeah, you need to have a good amount of energy to really make that work.
Yeah.
But it's still like it kind of gets into that sort of rock paper scissors type play as far as like recognizing what kind of tech is he going to go for, what kind of tech can I go for, and then for the most part, if Suppy were to make it to something like Mutalisks, pretty much everybody goes straight from mutas into broodlords if you can. Like some people will go like 7 or 8 mutas and then they'll switch into roaches and try to use the mutas to get an advantage. But I know that Suppy's the kind of guy that's pushed for broodlords after mutas, which that style kind of got popular after the style of the patch really where broodlords couldn't be abducted.
Yeah.
So in ZVZ you have a much better way of actually killing someone. But, roaches are still really good at preventing you from reaching that stage as we saw in game number 1.
Yeah, definitely so. I mean, we're talking about like Hive Tech, which is rather hard to get to, but I mean, these guys are capable of getting there. Don't get me wrong.
You need to get enough mutas to like just push away everything while still being able to do like Ling Harass, which is not easy because that means you survived whatever roach push your opponent made. Unless both of you go mutas, in which case then it's like the beginning of Heart of the Swarm. It's just funny because like sometimes like you hear what people talk about like StarCraft and the current state of the meta, like people forget like that stuff like that happened. That it was just we'd have games where it was like 50 mutas versus 50 mutas, and you're like, well, I don't know who's really going to win this fight because they're all so clumped up. It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
But they're coming back. Let us know what you guys think is going to pop up in this series as we move forward. We are now in the lobby for game number 2. Hit us up on Twitter at StarCraft and also tweet with the hashtag WCS. Expedition Lost is map 2. So those rocks, that scenario we talked about is a very real threat.
Yeah, sorry guys. I was just getting everything in the lobby and stuff like that, making sure. It looks like Jaedong is taking a little break, and he's going to be back very, very momentarily. But as you said, Expedition Lost, we're just getting like everything together and ready for you guys. I think in general, like roach play, just like straight off, even like no gas play is really, really good on this map.
Yeah.
It sounds a little bit crazy because, yes, it could be hard to defend, but as soon as you get like evolution chambers and roach warren up above your natural, you're actually able to stop any sort of all-in for the most part and just get roaches out straight away.
Yeah, that's true. Like it really comes down to how you want to do it. Because some players will try to get like a little damage done with the lings, and then they feel safe enough to move that way.
Yeah.
But then other times it's you build 5 spine crawlers. Like if all those spines are done, like even the third and fourth spine finished after the first and second die. But if you have all 4 initially, it's so much easier because the main spine crawlers they do like a crazy amount of damage, especially to armored units.
Mm-hmm.
Like spines are very strong.
You need to also maintain your Zerglings because they need to be morphed into Banelings ASAP.
Yeah.
I know Banelings aren't the best counter to roaches, but
if
just
you can
that
splash
AoE,
on enough of them, it really helps soften them up for the spines. Thank you guys for bearing with us. We are now loaded into game number 2 here at the World Championship Series Challenger Day 2. We're on Expedition Lost in the bottom left position. The Red Zerg player currently down 0-1 in this series. He is EG's Suppy. And his opponent in the northeast position, the Blue Zerg, also representing Evil Geniuses, is Jaedong.
Now, as we talked about all the different permutations that can happen on this map, it'll be definitely very interesting to see what these guys actually plan on doing. Because, you know, when it comes down to it, like, we don't know how much Suppy actually prepared for this, seeing as he's a pro gamer in like 30 different things.
Yeah, apparently. We're going to like find out he accidentally won like a Hearthstone tournament last weekend. He's like simultaneously playing this and like Counter-Strike. Like he's just all over the place.
He's actually next door playing like another game too.
Like, he's like, oh, he's playing something that's like in beta we don't even know about yet.
Yeah. I mean, this guy's like a monster. And look at this. Playing some cheeky builds, man.
So this is a double extractor trick after a very fast spawning pool. Huh.
Now, the Overlord obviously will be able to see this pop out in time.
But he can't have enough larvae to send 6 lings immediately, can he?
I don't think so.
So what's the play?
Well, I guess he does. I'm sorry. He does have enough larvae.
I don't consider myself an expert on this, so I'm like...
Because he double it, yeah.
Because he can start the queen, but he can't start the lings too, though. Yeah.
So wow, he's going drone.
It's just a super fast queen.
Wow.
What?
He's going to try to potentially kill this Overlord? Question mark?
Is that the idea, to just deny scouting with the fastest queen ever?
I'm not sure, man. This might just be like super defensive, comprehensive.
I've heard of like, you know, there's like the weird stuff in like 2v2, 4v4, I'm going to queen rush you. But he's queen rushing just himself. Like he's just getting, like you do this against Reaper players, and but you don't even get to pull this fast against a Reaper.
No.
Like this is just, I don't know, Suppy's making me uncomfortable, Greetor.
It just might be like he's playing Jaedong is playing mind games with Suppy, so Suppy's counter mind gaming, that kind of thing. Because, you know, Jaedong's been known to just 6-pool.
Unless Jaedong like drone scouted, there's still no way that he could ever know that this was going on early enough to mess with his build. Like now he sees the queen and Jaedong's probably just like, what? It's like,
yeah, that's a really fast queen.
He's like, do I need like a spine or It's like, well, I don't really know how to approach this situation because this doesn't happen terribly often.
It gets so scary because Jaedong looks at his build and he says, I went pull first and then hatchery. And then he sees his opponent's build and says, wow, my queen isn't remotely done and yours is attacking me. So that means you injected, moved out, and started attacking my Overlord. That means that there's a lot of speed builds that are built into Suppy's build. So he's saying to himself, I need to be very careful. Now he's going to go in, check the gases. I know he's going to check the gases. Boom.
Yep, he's like, okay, oh, you've mined just over 100. And there's that speed being started. I think the Link sees it. The Link sees the speed starting up. That's really, really useful for Jaedong. So now he knows, you know, that he can expect some sort of speed play. I don't think Suppy's going to like pull a Violet and just cancel his Link speed and go straight up to Lair like some madman. But definitely something that Jaedong has to keep in the back of his mind. Like if Jaedong starts speed right now, he has the gas for it, then he's just barely behind and it's not that big of a deal. Suppy's getting a Baneling Nest too, very quickly. Huh.
Might be some really heavy pressure here.
So, I'm just trying to see where the advantage of his build is.
Oh, wow. Sick drone.
Yeah, that drone block to prevent the Link from scouting is nice.
Not sure if it's the best build to be going. I mean, we do see Jaedong is focusing on mainly getting just his queens out. He wants to creep spread this.
I'm surprised that he did it all. It's like you went for a 10 pool to get a really fast queen, but the fast queen, like if you think about what a queen does to a Zerg, you get that inject, right? So your first inject is much faster. So is he thinking that having the inject so much faster makes up for the economic difference by getting his additional drones out faster?
I think it's just him staying safe, honestly. I don't think it's anything like
the safest build ever.
Yeah.
And people do like to cheese on Expedition Lost. That's a good point. We've seen only or mostly cheese on this map actually. I think we only saw one game yesterday, and that was the 2-gate by Zeal against Hydra.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's a tough map to play at mid-end game stage for sure.
Yeah, it's been one of the more difficult maps, period, because those back rocks, just like, ugh. And then you can cut the map in the middle with the destructible rocks, or the constructible rocks, I guess.
Oh yeah. The collapsible.
Yeah, I'm like, collapsible. I mean, like all the rocks.
But they're basically constructible.
But the thing is, like, all the rocks are technically collapsible or destructible, but only some rocks are constructible.
That's what Terran needs. That's the new unit. Construction
I want my
rocks.
SCVs to be able to build rocks, damn it.
How cool would that be, man? Oh my gosh. Just 3 armor, building armor, increases it to 7.
You have 7 armor rocks that you build around your army.
Then you can do the real pushes, bro.
The
You can do
ultimate
real-
slow push. You literally become a turtle
I just solved Blizzard's woes, man.
with a shield of rocks around
Yep.
your mech army. This drone tries to go plant a third base for Jaedong. Suppy's being annoying with this Ling. She's like, no, I think I could try to delay that as long as possible. Actually, oh my god, the drone's leaving.
Yeah, you saw Zergling's just moving up
Yeah,
with his overlord.
he's like, I'm not gonna risk it. Not gonna take that chance. And meanwhile, Suppy capitalizes on this. He's like, okay, I'm gonna take a third base. And Jaedong know about that. Maybe he saw the drone on his minimap, but otherwise, yeah, that third base is on the way. And Suppy going straight for that Spire that we were talking about.
Yeah, Spire, I mean, it can be good, but there hasn't been some weird opening, really. I mean, I guess Suppy is the weird opening, but if anything, that puts him behind economically. If you look at the Workers tab, Jaedong is even with Suppy, but it's because he let Suppy catch up to him. He's already starting his Roach production, his unit production. He's looking to put the pressure on right now before the Spire tech is up and out. And
Yeah.
it's because Jaedong, he actually had like a 10-worker lead for the majority of this
Well,
game.
look at what Suppy's doing. He's recognized what basically the weakness of his last game was. He's like, okay, I need more spines faster if I want to survive this. This is where something like the rocks are not useful because the time it would take to kill them would actually open up the door for that big push. But look, he forces out all these spines, and unless Suppy cancels these, Jaedong isn't really looking like he wants to actually attack him. Jaedong's just getting pathogen glands. He's moving into infestors. He's already got spores.
That's crazy, man.
I think he might make like a big infestor queen roach push. Like the mutas are totally useless once there are spores on the map.
Yeah,
Spore crawlers are that good.
and what can you do if you're Suppy? Like, you just have to drone up and hope he doesn't push? Like, you're trying to have an economic advantage, but you really don't because you got all those spine crawlers. You have to worry about an imminent threat of roaches.
You lose 5 drones and 500, the minerals associated with those drones, and then the 500 on top of that to actually build all the spine
Yeah,
crawlers.
it's a lot, man. It is a lot of compounds. It's like 500 plus because, those drones could have been working for you.
Yeah, exactly. Those drones could have been mining, and now they're just chilling. Like, I guess eventually the spine crawlers will be, they'll be able to attack, I suppose, unless he breaks down the rocks and just avoids them completely. Suppy's already switching into roaches himself. He starts +1 attack, his roach Warren. But let's just to compare. Jaedong already has roach speed. He already has +1. He's going for +2, and he's got infestors to boot.
Oh, man. These meters trying to do damage. Yeah, it kills 1 overlord.
I mean, you got something.
But as we talked about before, Nate, there is no 1 overlord attack.
There's no I open 8 units to kill an overlord build.
No.
It's not a thing.
Or a creep tumor.
Or a creep tumor. The overlord creep tumor snipe build.
So it's still a tough situation. 4 queens actually stabilize the Jaedong pretty well here. I mean, they have
And queens are so
transfuses.
beefy.
Yeah, they have the capabilities of just...
And those queens
Sitting.
benefit from the attack upgrades too. If he gets fungled, like all those mutas are dead.
Yeah.
He's going into Hydralisks now as well. So I think Jaedong's just in a phenomenal position right now in this game. Like Suppy's going to be moving into what Jaedong has, just at such a slower rate that I don't know if he can. I don't know like where he's supposed to get an advantage.
Yeah. I mean, Suppy, I think, just needs to hope for a good first engagement, and as we were talking about, he needs like some sort of support tech, right? We were talking about that in the earlier stages of this upcoming ZVZ, where you can go Banelings, you can go Hydras or something.
But what do you do when the guy has Hydras and Infestors?
Hydras-
It's like, well, Banelings aren't going to kill the Hydras because the Infestors fungal you. So
Yeah.
you've got to try to play the same thing, but
Maybe
you're just
it's
behind.
Burrowed Banelings, but this is definitely something that could help out a ton. If he's able to kill these back rocks, you can see Jaedong doesn't know this is happening.
Oh, there's
at
no
all.
vision of this. That's actually really interesting. That's really good of you to point out.
I mean, you bring a couple units over here, you counterattack the main base, you can do a lot of
I'm
damage
surprised.
here.
I'm surprised Jaedong had no vision of that Greator.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the main things that you have to have vision on, in my opinion, when you're playing this map. Now doing some good damage, but is it going to be enough? That's the real question. Suppy can't have main engagements here, especially with those...
Ooh, there we see the first fungal on those roaches, so he catches a few of them. Like, what did he actually kill? A couple drones, I think he got the queen in the main, but
Yeah.
it looks like the tech is still intact, and now he gets another fight,
Oh,
and there
gosh.
he can actually use the hydras, the fungals. A lot of these roaches they're not even close enough in range. Like, this is the worst concave, like, that Suppy like Jaedong could have had to deal with. Like Suppy was really well spread out and he had a good arc, but Jaedong's army is just that much better.
Yeah, it's equal in, actually it's a little bit ahead for Jaedong in terms of supply, but at the same time, he has Infestors, he has Hydras, he has the right composition. Suppy's just like, he has those bloated roaches, as we were talking about.
Those bloated roaches, man.
They're bloated, man. They just fill up a lot of supply and don't give the pack, or don't give the punch for what it's worth.
Yeah, that's the truth. Jaedong's going to max out now on roaches, and we have a Hydralist Den finishing for Suppy. We have +2 starting for Suppy, but he doesn't have any Hydra upgrades. He doesn't have the +2 that Jaedong already has. Now Jaedong's basically saying, okay, let's get to work here, buddy. I'm going to come in, attack your third base, and we can see that Jaedong's main army is also moving down the center of the map behind all of this.
Yep. And this looks so scary. Of course, the main army of Suppy is going to come back here and defend. Meanwhile, in the top left-hand corner, there's a pack of roaches that are going for the third base. It's pretty undefended. So these are things... Wow, Jaedong, look at that reaction time. Really beautifully done.
It's like, I don't want to lose any drones, but now he's not mining off that base at all.
Yeah, these are the things that he has to do, but a great fungal growth goes down a lot of the roach patches, allows his Hydras to do maximum damage, but there's not a lot of other roaches here. It might just be enough DPS, but it looks like Suppy's actually able to trade as well as he could have.
Yeah, but the Hydras are just being allowed to attack too much. Another wave of roaches on the right side from Jaedong. Like, I think Jaedong should be able to clear this out now. It really also comes down to just the fungal growths preventing the roaches from even being in range to fight. Like Jaedong, like this is like Jaedong, just move up a little bit. Okay, like Jaedong does this, like he's done this like 2 or 3 times in this game, but he's just so far ahead, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it really doesn't. He just has a composition advantage, he has the unit advantage, he has the income advantage, everything works out for him. Suppy's going to tap out. He's down 2-0. Really tough spot for Suppy to be in. You know, I was talking about how he won in the Kung Fu Cup 2-0 2 weeks ago, but we're seeing another Jaedong that does not lose, man.
Yeah, Jaedong seems very, very clean in his play. He's not doing anything that's really outside the ordinary for Zerg versus Zerg. Suppy opening with a very defensive build that game that cut his economy a little bit, and then the only thing that like Jaedong did was like recognize, like, well, I can actually go Infestors first into Hydras pretty easily since your Mutas can be stopped by 5 Spore Crawlers. So he did a really good job of finding the good response to Suppy's build.
We are seeing the problems of, Mutas overall in this matchup, on this map in particular.
Yeah.
He did as much as he could. I mean, he broke down the back rocks, was able to have some simultaneous attacks, but when it comes down to it, Roach Hydra, when it's kind of close between, natural to natural, you can still do a lot of damage. And Jaedong didn't even put any, like, heavy pressure on. He just said, spore up, and let's just get a better army composition than you can ever dream of. All that gas that you put into Mutas, I'm going to put it into Infestors and just win the first big fight.
Yeah, very, very well played by Jaedong. The third map is going to be Coda, another 2-player map. Coda, rush distance,
it's reasonable.
It's reasonable, I guess.
Probably like last game.
You have a decent amount of airspace, but I would argue that you also kind of have that on the other 2 maps. Like there's places to move in by the natural on both Expedition Lost and Echo. This map has a bit more. But Jaedong's shown that that's not really a concern of his.
Yeah, I think Muta is probably not nearly as good. I mean, there's the one side of your minerals are just so far away. Like to wrap around with Mutas on the opposite side of where your minerals are.
It's not going to work because the Spore Crawler on the bottom side still protects everything because you're going so far deep in. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
It's just so hard for Mutas to be really effective and find openings, and most of the places that you can actually get around are going to be zoned out pretty easily. So in general, Mutas are hard. Mutas are really difficult to actually work, but maps that would work, I would say, might be something like Infernal Pools, where it's super far away.
Yeah,
you can use the mobility.
I guess you have to get there, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's the tough part.
The next 2 maps in this series, if it were to go that far, would be Vani Research Station and Cactus Valley. So it seems that they vetoed Iron Fortress and they vetoed Infernal Pools. I don't think we're going to see... I think it's going to be like last season, we won't see a lot of Infernal Pools, and I doubt this season we're going to see a lot of Iron Fortress.
It's really, really tough map to play on, Infernal Pools. We're going to find out as we move on to game number 3. Take it away, man.
We're in the top left position. We've got the red Zerg player. He needs to win the next 3 games in a row if he wants to qualify for Premier. He is EG's Suppy. He's got some sort of like fish skeleton as his decal next to his hatcheries. And his opponent in the top right, representing EG as well, he's Jaedong. But he's got the regular ones.
He's got the monster ones.
That's I actually hadn't thought about that.
We got the monster logos everywhere, man.
That's I actually had not considered that for one moment. I realized we may have just gotten Suppy fined. Well, it's like, what is this? What is this, like fish? What is this fish skeleton? It looks like a fish skull, doesn't it?
It does.
That could be what it was modeled after. Maybe I'm not that creative.
Wow.
I don't know.
I
guess it kind of looks like a human skull on the front part. I don't know. Maybe I'm
What?
thinking too much about this. He's doing the same thing again, by the way.
Yeah, go for that. We'll see if he goes for the Zerglings this time or not. It's really, really weird, man. I don't get it.
This reminds me of like Firecake's build, except even Firecake got his pool at like 13. Like, what's he gonna do? Is he gonna build 6 slings and then this drone's gonna be a spine, or like the fact that he drone scouts with it too? He's so paranoid about getting cheesed.
Because he always thinks that Jaden's going to do it this next game or this next game.
What was it like that one time that everybody like got really rustled at Jaedong because he 6-pooled Scarlet or something and like knocked her out of a big tournament? It was some Korean Zerg. I can't remember. I think that was it though. So maybe Suppy's just paranoid. He's like maybe I'll go out with honor, but not like this. Not like cheese.
And I do want to mention, like, a lot of times these guys have, like, these weird builds that we don't understand because we're seeing it for the first time, but they have it mapped out, like, really, really well.
Yeah, I imagine that Suppy's got several transitions and several different ways already planned how he react. What?
Whoa.
Drone! Oh my god. I can't believe he escaped. That drone should have died.
It's crazy, man. That is absolutely insane.
If only he could reach. If only that drone behind him could just reach a little further.
Now, I do want to talk about gas timings real quick.
All right, let's go. Let's go. Get it out of your system. We got this.
a really fast gas out from Jaedong. It enables him to get metabolic boost. Normally, it finishes around 6 minutes to 6:30. This time, it's going to finish around like 5:30. It allows him to sync up one of his injects, since he went pool first, with just an amazing amount of Zerglings. He can actually start massing Zerglings right now in preparation for this 5-minute and 30-second metabolic boost. He streams across the map, and if you don't go Banelings like really, really quickly, if you get your gas a little bit later, you're going to be punished like crazy. To defend this, Suppy needs to not spend his larva so easily. If he goes to drones, immediately he's just going to die because he doesn't have enough material out on the field. It's definitely a tough situation. This is the first start. He needs the Zerglings to pop out here to go ahead and scout out. But what do we see from Jaedong?
Yeah.
The swell
Wow,
of Zerglings,
retort.
man.
You, just off that gas timing, you basically predicted his whole entire build.
Bro, it's all in the gas timings. It tells your whole build.
Wow.
It tells your whole build, man. I remember I got into a Zerg base and I saw like it was a 2-minute 30-second start of an extractor. I was like, oh, good. All I have to do is go Banelings before speed. I'm going to be fine. Won the game.
Nice.
I won the game at 2 minutes and 30 seconds. It felt so good.
That must be a good feeling. In TVT, I guess in Terran, unless someone proxies you or 6-pulls you, which is much less common. But the fast gas, the fast speed, those builds are so tricky to handle. Suppy does not have what he needs to defend this, man. He's got a spine on the way, no Banelings. His speed is so far away. He doesn't have that many links. And I think Jaedong might just kill him here.
I think so, man. He just doesn't have the material to deal with it. He's gotten a lot of drones, obviously, more streaming in units. It looks like he actually did a pretty good job, and nestling up, obviously, behind that queen helps out so much, but being able to deal with this hatchery, I mean, he's never going to be able to defend this. He's lost so many Zerglings, now he's just going to go for the kill.
He's going to come in. He's fighting the drones again. He pulls them away from around the queen, so he grabs the queen, and GG's called. Jaedong with a quick 3-0. Moves on to Premier League over Suppy.
Punishing Suppy for not getting a very quick gas for himself. He got it around 3:20. Can't do that. Can't do that. You have like a full minute timing as Jaedong for just endless waves of Zerglings.
Yeah, he punished Suppy for that. He punished Suppy for winning another tournament in the last 24 hours.
Exactly.
He's like, no, that's not allowed. You actually are only allowed to be so successful in 1 week. So Jaedong moves on, and I think very happy. You know, he just moved to America, came here to play this season of WCS, wants to play out throughout the year here. And as you guys can see, today's results, we had Violet topple QXC in pretty quick fashion. In fact, the only series that wasn't a sweep was Xenocider versus Puck. Xenocider barely escaping.
Yeah, really awesome series, but overall, dominant performance between Violet, MaSa, and Jaedong. They showcase why they belong in Premier League. Remember, this is the the cream of the crop when it comes to
Yeah.
America and the Canada region. So like for them to get this far already, I think they already made like $2,000 for getting into challenge.
Everybody that made it into Challenger got $2,000, and this was the second day. Of course, if you guys didn't see the players that we had qualify yesterday, we had Stardust taking out Huck, and then Kane sweeping Pili Pili, and Hydra sweeping Zeal. So a lot of strong performances by some of the players that came in from Premier last season. It seems to have flip-flopped quite a bit moving into day 2. But that finishes Challenger for the North American region. There are still some Challenger matches left to be played in the European region that will be taking place over the next few days. You guys can check them out on the 29th of April and the 30th of April. Lots of really good names. I'm pretty much excited for all of these. I'm a big fan of Bunny, Morrow, at least my Terran heart is, and of course Officer Petraeus.
That's right. I think my favorite guy is going to be Morrow there. I mean, he's a longtime Brood War fan, Brood War pro, and I don't know. I just have a certain thing with Morrow that I can't let go.
Yeah, Morrow does that to us.
Yeah,
Morrow does that to us. But thank you guys so much for tuning in to our Challenger broadcast this week. We'd like to thank you, and hopefully, if you guys want to continue to send any feedback, you can tweet at us at StarCraft with the hashtag WCS. It's been a pleasure casting for you.
Definitely so. We'll catch you guys next time.
See you guys for Premiere.
Yeah, catch you around.